Imagine you're trapped in a city turned into a nightmare graveyard, where Russian troops are buried alive in ditches, their dreams of victory shattered by Ukraine's unyielding defiance. In this hellish battleground of Pokrovsk, Vladimir Putin's forces claim total conquest, yet the truth explodes there lies sky-high. Over a week after Moscow screamed false triumph on December 1, relentless clashes echo through mud-soaked streets, with Ukrainian defenders holding firm against Donetsk offensive waves. And here's the gut-wrenching twist Russia desperately hides: Ukraine isn't just surviving, it's thriving, smashing assault after assault into oblivion. While Putin's clique parades fictional flags, brave Ukrainians have forged Pokrovsk into an inferno, where Russian columns drown in the muck of their own hubris. To grasp this hidden horror, picture the microcosm unleashed on December 10. As Eurymedon Press unearthed, Russian invaders launched a mechanized blitz against Pokrovsk's guardians, armored beasts rumbling forth under cloak of gloom. Fog wrapped the region like a shroud, tons of mist licking at visibility, damp earth squelching under boots and tires, muffling the roar of engines. Russia bet on drab skies shielding their tanks from Ukraine's first-person view, or FPV, drones, those shadowy eyes in the sky. Muddy ruts turned every step treacherous, frames heaving with grit, the air thick with metallic tang and distant thunder of war. Believing the elements their ally, invaders aimed for a lightning strike from south to north. But Ukraine flipped the script in a heartbeat of fury. In a telegram blast from the 7th Rapid Response Unit of Ukrainian Air Assault Forces, a key player in repelling the charge, the saga unfolded. Russians deployed armored vehicles, autos, and even motorcycles, columns surging like beasts in fog. Unbeknownst to the assailants, their surprise was foreseen, reinforcements primed to crush them cold. The 68th Separate Jage Brigade, honoring Alexa Dobbush, obliterated the vanguard, flames erupting from shattered hulls, acrid smoke choking the battlefield. Then artillery pummeled onward, shells whistling as personnel scattered in panic, earth shaking under impacts. Russia's armored juggernaut crumbled before even grazing defenders, leaving scraps for mopping up, men and machines alike destined for ruin. Yet, this wasn't mere happenstance. Eurymedon Press peeled back more layers, shattering Russia's illusion that gloom equaled safety. As the lead tank lurched near, Jage operators unleashed an FPV drone, a buzzing specter that slammed home with precision, iron melting in fiery embrace, heat waves warping the air. With the first beast downed, Ukrainian firestorm erupted, artillery booming, rifles cracking, mud flying in geysers. Any fleeting gains evaporated back into Ukrainian hands, the assault obliterated in a symphony of destruction. UKR Inform amplified this heroism, quoting National Guard spokesperson Ruslan Musichuk, "The weather conditions are currently foggy, especially in the morning and often during daylight hours." Accordingly, we see that the enemy tried to use armored vehicles for an unexpected attack on Pokrovsk. And the fact that they were detected and destroyed in such weather is a great credit to all the defense forces. Musichuk shattered Russian fantasies of Pokrovsk's fall, revealing Ukrainian offensives smashing into 15 nearby settlements, defenses unyielding. Russia charged hard, yet again, and crashed into nothingness. December 10 ignited 234 clashes across fronts, 49 barbed in Pokrovsk's meat grinder. Though victory tallies blur, the mechanized debacle proved futility, city standing defiant despite Moscow's boasts. But Pokrovsk's bloodlust isn't isolated carnage. It's a relentless vortex, wave after wave of Russian folly piling corpses in anti-tank trenches, the stench of decay mingling with gunpowder haze. Eurymedon Press chronicled this grim pattern, offensives collapsing amid ditches, bodies stacking like cordwood, soldiers trudging over comrades for inches gained. In the Dobropilia direction, miles north, Russia's salient teetered near collapse in early November. Trench warfare analyst David Axe prophesied failure, Ukraine's lines stretched thin, reserves bled dry aiding Pokrovsk. Yet, here we stand, salient stagnant, Pokrovsk unbroken a month later. Russian strategy morphed to costly defense, hurling hundreds daily into the abyss to stem Ukrainian advances, while defenders suppress surges with chilling efficiency. Putin floods Dobropilia and Pokrovsk with flesh, aiming to drown Ukraine in numbers, resurrecting encirclement schemes. But Ukraine's stoic grip thwarts it all, city defenders encircled no more, their stand exacting unbearable tolls from Putin's gambit. Impressively, independent sources claim Russia massed 170,000 troops here, over a quarter of its 700,000 in Ukraine. Outnumbered 8-1 in spots, Ukrainians defy odds, proving manpower no savior against tactical mastery. And what if Russia's so-called secure hinterlands are crumbling too? Peer into Volodymyrivka's shattered ruins, a village captured in August, meant for launching Pokrovsk probes. A Ukrainian drone's lens captured stark reality, 2 Russians creeping through rubble, bricks crunching softly, dust veiling their breaths. Little did they know, a lone paratrooper lurked in the shadows, air heavy with anticipation. As invaders neared, he emerged, gunfire erupting in sharp cracks, bullets zipping through fog. One foe slumped, life ebbed in crimson streams, the other, a commander, met the same fate, ambushes elegance unveiling tactical elegance. Such skirmishes flicker daily, small teams, backed by drones, neutralizing threats before they swell. Eurymedon Press summed it, Russia's brute onslaughts clash with Ukraine's surgical strikes, sustaining the merciless grind. Is this the true war's heartbeat, where sheer force devours itself? Imagine this, December 1st, Russia boldly proclaimed they'd seized Pokrovsk entirely, a blatant fabrication meant to sway peace negotiations with the US. Yet, days later, fierce battles raged on, with Ukraine defending tenaciously amid Putin's Donetsk offensive. Ukraine's triumphs far outshine Russia's admitted failures. But can sheer numbers overcome tactical brilliance? In Pokrovsk, where trenches reek of damp earth and gunpowder, Russia's waves crumble. On December 10, Eurymedon Press highlighted a mechanized attack gone horribly wrong. Thick fog shrouded the fields, mud clung to boots, engines roared in the distance, perfect for a Russian sneak assault using tanks, trucks, and bikes. Columns thrust from south to north, believing surprise was theirs. That's when the shock hit. The 7th Operational Response Unit of Ukraine's air assault troops knew exactly what was coming. Backup arrived swiftly. The 68th Separate Jaeger Brigade, honoring Alexa Dobbush, obliterated the lead Russian group immediately. Artillery thundered next, pounding vehicles and troops. The assault disintegrated before reaching Ukraine's lines. Now, defenders hunt down survivors, machines shattered, soldiers scattered. Eurymedon Press added grim layers to this defeat. Weather-fueled safety? Myth debunked. As Russian armor crept near, Jaeger drones struck first, erupting the lead tank in flames and smoke. Fire spread. Explosions boomed. Ukraine unleashed barrages, artillery rain, grenades popping. No ground gained held long, Russia fled charred ruins. Yet Russia's lies persist, claiming Pokrovsk conquered. How can truth prevail against such deceit? UKR Inform quoted Ukrainian National Guard spokesman Ruslan Muzychuk, fog hangs thick, mornings and days veiled. The foe dared armored strikes on Pokrovsk, yet detection and destruction amid this haze honor our defenders deeply. He countered the fallacy of fall, noting Ukraine's counteroffensives in 15 nearby settlements, guarding the city fiercely. Russia charged furiously, and retreated empty-handed. That day, December 10th, erupted with 234 clashes across fronts. 49 in Pokrovsk alone. Russia's grand push? A flop. Pokrovsk endures, unbowed. But this mechanized fiasco mirrors broader carnage. Pokrovsk's outskirts, death traps, barricades slick with rain. Wave after wave of Russian troops collapse. Bodies mount in anti-tank ditches, a nauseating stench rising. Slavic command hurls thousands daily to stall Ukrainian advances, reports Eurymedon. Soldiers trample comrades remains for indifferent gains, bare meters costly. Stalemate tears at nerves. Mud squelches under feet, screams echo faint. Russia's setbacks stem from Dobropilya efforts, mere miles north. Early November hinted breakthrough near. Trench expert David Axe warned Ukraine strained, reserves trapped. Yet Dobropilya faltered. Now, reports shift, Russia clings desperately, bodies piling to halt retreats. Thousands feed the grinder daily, Ukrainians countering with precision. Overwhelmed tactic? Futile. Russia aims to crush Dobropilya lines, encircle Pokrovsk anew. Bodies as pawns, but Ukraine's mettle holds. Defenders prevent encirclement, denying Putin easy triumph. Sacrifices mount endlessly. Impressive resolve, President Zelensky estimates 170,000 Russian troops invested, chunk of 700,000 in Ukraine. Outnumbered 8-1 locally, yet Ukraine prevails. Manpower myths shatter, Putin's pace lags. Gruesome footage from Volodymyrivka, August seized, exposes cracks. Drones spied 2 Russian infiltrators amid crumbled walls, dust thick, air foul. Shattered bricks crunch under boots. A Ukrainian paratrooper lurked. Reveal, gunfire cracked. Russians ducked walls, scrambling. Paratrooper advanced, guided by drones, flanking mercilessly. First fell, the assault leader slumped next. Daily repeats, small Ukrainians teams, drone-led, snuff Russian threats pre-mass. Force versus finesse. Russia's brute blunders fuel the meat grinder. Ukraine, outnumbered, unbeatable. Will Russia ever learn from blood-soaked lessons? And how much longer can Pokrovsk bleed? The dust of destruction settles, but echoes of conflict linger. Visceral, inescapable. What's next in this relentless dance? Turn the page, or witness more defeats unfold? Imagine the roar of 234 combat clashes echoing across Ukraine on December 10. 49 of those fierce clashes raged in the Pokrovsk sector. We can't pinpoint exactly how many Ukraine claimed victory over Russia, but one truth shines through. Russia's massive thrust into Pokrovsk failed miserably. Despite their bold claims, the city still stands firm under Ukrainian control. Now, picture this shocking twist: could Putin's so-called unstoppable army be crumbling faster than he admits, turning his dreams of domination into dust? Yet, the mechanized assault on Pokrovsk wasn't an isolated stumble. Reports reveal a chilling pattern of devastation that's gripping the entire region. On December 10, Ukraine didn't just repel Russia's forces, it shattered them in a cycle of relentless defense. The earthy smell of mud and gunpowder lingers in the air as Ukrainian soldiers transform the urban sprawl into deadly traps. Pulses race in the dim light, where every corner hides a surprise. Russia's waves of attackers surge forward, only to be expelled just as swiftly as they form. Why is Ukraine turning these kill zones into Putin's nightmare, making his troops pay in blood for every inch? Did you know that in the Pokrovsk area, anti-tank ditches now overflow with the grim toll of Russian ambition? Corpses scatter like fallen leaves, a bitter reminder of failed offensives. The ground feels slick underfoot, soaked from the turmoil, as the battlefield grinds into a wretched deadlock. Russian commanders hurl thousands into the fray, striving desperately to block Ukrainian advances. What hidden fear drives Putin to sacrifice so many, only to see his lines fractured time and again? The damp chill bites at exposed skin, carrying whispers of defeat on the foggy wind. Russian troops trudge onward, stepping over the remains of their comrades in a macabre march, inching forward meter by meter. Their heavy breaths mix with the distant thud of artillery, each step a gamble in this treacherous terrain. How far will Putin push his men into this abyss, and can Ukraine's resolve finally break Russia's iron grip? Incredibly, Russia's troubles trace back to their ill-fated pushes through Dobropilya, mere miles north of Pokrovsk. That jagged protrusion toward the town nearly pierced Ukrainian defenses as late as early November. Trench warfare expert David Axe warned darkly that both the fight for Pokrovsk and efforts to halt Dobropilya were nearing collapse. Ukrainian reserves, he argued, were stretched too thin, ensnared in Dobropilya and unable to bolster Pokrovsk allies. Indicators pointed to his dire predictions holding true. But hold on, what if there's a devastating reversal brewing, one that humbles Russia's overconfidence into shameful retreat? Signs hinted at Axe's foresight prevailing. Yet, the Dobropilya advance stalls without yielding real gains. Pokrovsk's defenders endure fiercely, defying the odds a full month later. Recent updates indicate Russia's troops pivoting from breakthroughs to a desperate defense of their northern edge, at any tremendous cost. That price? Precious lives, lost in droves since Putin's invasion ignited. Commanders flood the zone daily with fresh soldiers, aiming to smother Ukrainian pushes and cling to hard-won ground. Ukrainians, meanwhile, must suppress these surging tides, their hands trembling from the unending strain. Could this brutal standoff expose Putin's fatal flaw, relying on flesh and blood against Ukraine's cunning precision? Russia's strategy, overwhelmed through numbers, both near Dobropilya and in Pokrovsk itself. Success might resurrect the looming threat over Dobropilya, potentially encircling Pokrovsk entirely. Ukrainians, though outnumbered 8-1 in spots, cling tenaciously. Their unyielding defense spares the city from encirclement, forcing Putin to feed more troops into this meat grinder. Ukraine's grit, facing 170,000 Russian soldiers against its lines, a chunk of Russia's 700,000 in Ukraine, proves that quantity can't conquer if tactics falter. Putin's pace of victory? Slip-sliding into history's failures. Imagine if this tide turns, leaving Russia exposed and humiliated in ways that shake the world. What hidden edge might Ukraine unveil next, inverting the war's momentum? Even as predictions swirled that the Dobropilya advance was crumbling, Ukraine's defenders shattered those expectations, holding strong against relentless tides. Now, fast forward a month, what shocking twist leaves Russia's dreams in ruins, and why are Putin's losses piling up like forgotten echoes in the fog? Can sheer numbers truly drown out courage, or is this the ultimate humiliation for a Goliath crumbling before a David? Despite dire forecasts, the Dobropilya push yields no triumphs for Moscow. Pokrovsk fighters endure, their resolve unshaken weeks later. Recent analyses reveal Russian troops abandoning breakthroughs. They pivot to defend the northern flank at all costs. That toll? A grim echo of the invasion's start, human lives expended like chaff in the wind. Command floods the field daily with hundreds, preventing Ukrainian reclamation of land. Brave souls suppress each surge. Reports from the front highlight Russia's gambit. Overwhelmed defenses near Dobropilya and Pokrovsk via manpower alone. Success might revive the salient once deemed inevitable, resurrecting chances to fully encircle Pokrovsk. Yet Ukraine stands firm, turning the flesh-upon-flesh strategy into a futile grind. This steadfastness shields Pokrovsk's heart. Forces remain unsieged, unbroken, demanding more sacrifices from Putin's vaulted campaign. Already drained deeply, Ukraine's guardianship impresses deeply. Independent sources cite President Zelensky's view. Russia deploys 170,000 in Pokrovsk's theater, a hefty slice of the 700,000 across Ukraine. Sheer troop bulk disadvantages defenders, with 8-1 odds in spots along the line. Muddy earth under boot, damp haze clouding sight. But Ukraine defies the math, proving vast armies promise no swift conquest. Certainly not the cadence Vladimir demands. Recall the shattered mechanized push on December 10. A taste of doomed endeavors. Drones capture haunting scenes in Volodymyrivka's shattered sprawl. Russia claimed conquest in August. Illusion crumbles as infiltrators tread debris. Bricks scrape soles, rubble sense of decay hang heavy. A paratrooper waits in the gloom. What pulse-quickening surprise awaits when shadows stir, and Russia's command realizes precision trumps brute force forever? In the last part, we explored how Ukraine overcomes Russia's massive numerical edge in the Pokrovsk region, despite being outnumbered 8-1 in key areas. Putin's forces can't secure victory at the speed he demands. We've already covered the epic failure of Russia's mechanized assault on December 10. Now, imagine this shocking fact: did Putin really announce the capture of a village called Volodymyrivka back in August? But has it truly fallen, or is it still a powder keg ready to explode in his face? Feel the damp fog clinging to your skin, the crunch of debris underfoot, as this twist unfolds, pulling Russia's entire strategy into question. Footage from a Ukrainian drone, captured in the shattered ruins of Volodymyrivka, peels back another layer of Russia's crumbling push on Pokrovsk. Putin claimed victory over this settlement months ago, yet it's anything but safe, serving as a launchpad for assaults on the nearby city. The drone trails a pair of Russian troops, scrambling over crumbled bricks and splintered wood, unaware of the trap closing in. The air reeks of charred earth, a lone Ukrainian paratrooper waits, hidden in the rubble. Heart pounding, he hears the crunch of boots drawing closer, the distant hum of reconnaissance guiding him. When the Russians get near enough, he bursts into view, gunfire echoing through the ruins. The soldiers dive for cover behind a shattered wall, but the paratrooper presses on, weaving through debris, coordinated strikes from above. Within moments, one Russian falls. Then the second, revealed as the leader of their assault group. These frantic, lethal skirmishes erupt dozens of times daily. Small Ukrainian units, outnumbered yet precise, using drones to dismantle Russian probes, before they swell into real threats. It's the heart of the Ukraine war, distilled. Russia pounds forward with raw force. Ukraine counters with masterful precision, fueling the brutal grinder Putin built. Even at 8-1 odds in parts of Pokrovsk, wisdom trumps numbers. But why does Russia keep pushing bodies into this abyss, blind to tactics that could change everything? By the way, does this endless tide of corpses, rising in Ukraine's ditches, hint at Putin's desperation, or something darker, like a command that values sacrifice over survival? The fog thickens, but so does the truth, leaving you wondering if Russia's next wave will crumble just as fast. What shattered secret will emerge next, twisting the tale of Pokrovsk forever? In the endless cycle of death and despair, Russian forces march into a trap they refuse to recognize. Despite the staggering toll, over 30 bodies in just 200 square meters, Putin's soldiers keep advancing. Do they hear the screams of their fallen as they trudge forward? Or is the chaos of war muffling the sound? Wide swaths of the city are littered with broken motorcycles and burning debris, silent witnesses to this massacre. Ukrainian drone units, elite eyes in the sky, capture this slaughter with chilling precision. In one horrifying clip, a segment of occupied land, just 2,150 square feet, becomes a graveyard, with over 30 bodies sprawled among wreckage. Across the city, the death toll rises up to 20 corpses in a single, small patch, buried in trenches and alleys. An unrelenting nightmare. Victory means nothing if chaos reigns. Yet Russia's commanders dismiss these losses, sending wave after wave into what they now call the ditches of death. Again and again, small groups stumble into Ukrainian patrols. Those tiny units are the wolf packs in this brutal hunt. Drone-guided ambushes shred them apart, leaving behind blood-soaked trenches packed with the fallen. The silent horror plays out like a macabre ritual. Who is learning? Who is truly winning? As one wounded soldier attempts to crawl over his comrades, the drone's eye draws closer. The perspective shifts, terror piercing the smoke and wreckage. A Ukrainian sniper tracking the chaos whispers of a terrible, relentless cycle Russian forces led into their own grave. Every time the same tragic scene unfolds, a brutal reminder that this city's streets echo with the ghostly silence of so many lives lost. Despite all this carnage, the Russian assault continues, driven more by stubbornness than strategy. Will they ever see the death they're unleashing? Or are they already blind to the horror around them? The toll of bodies is rising, victory slipping further out of reach with each failed push, each wave of death pushed into the ditches of hell. Imagine the battlefield turning into a relentless slaughterhouse, where Russian soldiers tumble into muddy graves, wave after wave vanishing like whispers in the fog. That's the horror unfolding in Pokrovsk, where Ukraine's defenders have transformed a besieged city into a nightmarish trap. Against all odds, they've shattered Russia's mechanized assaults, leaving armored hulks smoking and Putin's forces drowning in their own blood. Picture this shocking twist. Despite claiming victory on December 1, Russia's bold lie crumbles as Ukraine holds firm, proving once more that brute force alone can't drown out tactical brilliance. Fighting rages on, with Ukraine defending Pokrovsk ferociously in Donetsk. And here's the gut-wrenching truth: Russian assault waves get obliterated repeatedly, tangled in ditches of despair. On December 10, a microcosm of this carnage emerged. As Eurayudin Press detailed, Russia launched a mechanized push, shielded by fog and drizzle from roving FPV drones. Muddy terrain slowed ground combat, ideal for a surprise strike, they thought. But Ukraine turned it into spectacular humiliation. In a telegram from the 7th Rapid Response Unit of Ukrainian Air Assault Forces, the unit fended off the assault. Russians rolled in with armored vehicle and motorcycle columns from south to north. But the 7th knew it was coming. With backup, they halted the advance. The 68th Separate Jaeger Brigade, honoring Alexa Dovbush, destroyed the leading Russian group. Artillery unleashed devastation on enemy gear and troops. The mechanized dream crumbled, leaving survivors for elimination. Eurayudin Press added, Ukraine disproved the weather safety myth. Jaeger Brigade operators sent an FPV drone to annihilate the first tank. Then, a barrage, weapons and artillery, dismantled the column. Any gained ground slipped away, the assault was annihilated. UKR informed plus shared Ukrainian National Guard speaker Ruslan Musichuk, weather's foggy, mornings and days blurred. Enemy used armor for unexpected Pokrovsk strike. Their detection and destruction in such conditions credits all defense forces. Musichuk debunked the fall myth, noting Ukraine's offensives in 15 surrounding settlements, plus city defense. Russia pushes hard, gains nothing. December 10 saw 234 clashes, 49 in Pokrovsk. Ukraine humiliated Russia's big shove, city stands resilient. This mechanized failure wasn't isolated. Destruction patterns continue across Pokrovsk, where kill zones repel Russians swiftly. Eurayudin Press reports offensive waves collapse, corpses piling in anti-tank ditches. A gruesome stalemate, Russian command hurls thousands to block Ukrainian retakes. Waves turned deadly, Russians trample bodies for a meter. Woes started in Dobropilya direction, miles north, where Russia's salient nearly broke lines in early November. Trenchard columnist David Axe said battles ended, Ukraine too stretched, reserves tied in Dobropilya. Signs favored Russia, but salient faltered. Pokrovsk defenders fight on, a month later. Now, your modern press says Russia shifts to holding the northern line at any cost, bodies. Command feeds hundreds daily to deny terrain to Ukraine, which suppresses waves. Goal, overwhelm Dobropilya and Pokrovsk defenses with manpower. Restore salient, encircle Pokrovsk. Ukraine's firmness protects the city from encirclement, forcing Putin to sacrifice more for his Pokrovsk obsession. Ukraine's defense impresses, reports say President Volodymyr Zelensky estimates 170,000 Russian troops in Pokrovsk area, huge from 700,000 in Ukraine. Outnumbered 8-1 in spots, Ukraine overcomes. More soldiers don't equal victory or Putin's pace. Footage from Ukrainian drone in Volodymyrivka ruins, seized in August by Russia, reveals another failure layer. Used for Pokrovsk assaults, it's insecure. Footage shows two Russians advancing through collapsed buildings. Clambering over bricks and wood, unsuspecting. Ambush awaited. Lone Ukrainian paratrooper hid in rubble. As Russians neared, he emerged, firing. They ducked behind a wall, but paratrooper pursued, guided by drone. One fell, then the assault group's commander. Dozens daily, small Ukrainian teams, outnumbered but drone-coordinated, neutralize infiltrators fast. Eurayudin Press sums, perfect war summation. Russia brute forces, Ukraine precise attacks. Meat grinder fed by strategy gap. Outnumbered 8-1, could Russia's ruthless tactics finally snap under Kiev's pressure? Or will this bloody treadmill grind on? As Russia squanders lives and Ukraine seizes the edge, the Donetsk front teeters on the brink. What fate awaits Putin's army next? Flashback, I recall the echo of distant artillery, the acrid stench of gunpowder clinging to mud-soaked uniforms, the chill of frostbite biting fingers on a trigger. All while huddled in makeshift shelters, hearts pounding like war drums in the endless night. The previous part revealed Russia's futile strategy of human waves in Pokrovsk, throwing bodies to hold lines at terrible cost, as Ukraine suppresses advances and prevents encirclement. Step into the grim reality of Pokrovsk, where Putin's empire crumbles under relentless Ukrainian defiance. Is this the moment Russia's empty boasts shatter into dust? Sources expose haunting stats, painting Ukraine's triumph in stark, sobering colors. The Moscow Times cites a Russian telegram channel, shot, inflating Ukraine's losses to over 6,500 soldiers in Pokrovsk by November. But this biased outlet, wielding a vested interest in despair, only highlights failure. If 6,500 Ukrainian casualties scream catastrophe for Kiev, think of Russia's 25,000 deaths in October alone, most in Pokrovsk assaults. The UK government echoes this in Neil Holland's speech on November 12, from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. Over a year, Russia crawled 15 kilometers toward Pokrovsk, choking on nearly 100,000 casualties. Ukraine's 9 Russian casualties per own loss flips the 8-1 numerical gap into mute despair. Volume persists as Putin's sole plan. Your midden press concludes, Russian strategy, volume, the human conveyor belt rolling. Grim math holds the line static, but unseen casualty rates question sustainability. Indeed, will Russia endure? Putin might snatch Pokrovsk by 2026. If exhaustion doesn't kill the dream first. Yet success could drain forces, dooming deeper Donetsk thrusts. But what if Ukraine's ingenious defenses unleash an unforeseen reversal, turning the tide against destiny? The air thickens with fumes and screams, boots sinking into crimson earth, as each volley echoes a desperate gamble. Quack! Have Russia's illusions blinded it to an irreversible collapse? Unveiling the next episode of Putin's unraveling gamble. In the grim struggle for Pokrovsk, Russia faces crumbling resolve as its exhausted troops confront a brutal reality. Is Putin's iron grip slipping amidst waves of death and defiance? The deeper push into Donetsk that has to follow will falter completely. Russia still hasn't captured Pokrovsk, its soldiers are perishing in unprecedented numbers, thanks to Ukraine's masterful tactics. Imagine the stench of blood-soaked earth clinging to boots, the distant rumble of artillery shaking the ground underfoot, the eerie silence after a drone strike. If those battered Russian forces somehow win, more carnage awaits in the Donetsk stronghold. Flesh tearing on barbed wire, screams echoing through shattered ruins, sweat and fear mixing with mud as soldiers crawl onward. Many Russian troops have already grasped this nightmare, and their discontent boils over. Russia's military swarms with deserters faking wounds to dodge rotation to Pokrovsk, and rebels openly defying commands. Feel the icy dread of betrayal in the ranks, boots scraping against concrete floors in hidden bunkers, whispers of mutiny spreading like frostbite in the dead of night. Can Putin's loyalists hold the crumbling line, or will internal fractures shatter everything? Explore Putin's personnel crises, and the colossal divide ripping Russia from within, in our unfolding video. Join the saga of Pokrovsk's death trap, where every assault unearths deeper horrors, and no victory comes without a sinister price. Right after witnessing the desperate scramble of Russian soldiers through the rubble, as a drone closes in on them like an unforgiving shadow, a wounded trooper crawls over fallen comrades to flee, scavenging gear while speaking to another injured man deeper in the trench. But now, imagine the horror unfolding right where those desperate pleas echo. Russia claims victory in Pokrovsk, yet the truth is a nightmare fueled by relentless drone strikes that cut down advancing forces without hesitation. Ukraine strikes back with precision, leaving piles of bodies in mud-choked ditches that Russians must trudge over, the stench of decay clinging like a suffocating fog. Each step sinks into blood-soaked earth, the crunch of debris under boots a constant reminder of futility. Hoping the fog shields them, Russian troops march on, their hearts pounding in fear. Sometimes, they claw forward a bit, only for FPV and bomber drones to swoop in, reversing gains and swelling the corpse mounds in Pokrovsk. Putin's so-called triumph masks this slaughter, where every fallen soldier buys mere illusions. Is this the slick conquest the Kremlin boasts, or a grotesque farce eroding their grasp? Ukraine's defenses grind on, no mercy shown as Russia's waves crumble. But hold on, beneath the carnage, a stunning shift emerges. Inside Pokrovsk itself, Ukraine flips the script, turning defense into bold offense. What if the city's fall wasn't inevitable? On December 11, United 24 media revealed a defiant act. Assault troops from Ukraine's Scalar Regiment hoisted their flag dead center in Pokrovsk. The footage captured that moment, shattering Putin's lies and reclaiming the narrative one embroidered banner at a time. You thought Pokrovsk was lost forever? Think again. As Zelensky rallies, with sources noting Russia's 170,000 troops massed here against Ukraine's outmatched forces, could this flag-raising ignite a full backlash, humiliating Putin's hoped-for encirclement? Feel the rifles in trembling hands, the sharp crack of shots piercing the mist, the metallic tang of smoke lingering on skin. Why do Russians keep feeding this meat grinder of their own making? And Ukraine, outnumbered 8-1, outsmarts them every time with tactical drones. Yet, despite the endless blitz of clashes, 234 on December 10, 49 in Pokrovsk alone, Ukrainians transformed denied settlements into lethal traps. Will Volodymyrivka crumble next, or become another Russian tomb? As paratroopers ambush patrols through collapsed walls, using bricks for cover and rubble as vantage points, what shocking reversal hides just beyond the next drone sweep, where one wrong move turns predator into prey? The FPV drone zeroes in, engine work, ready to strike. But before it does, consider this: is Pokrovsk really Russia's, or has Ukraine secretly woven a web of ambushes that could unravel the entire front? Stay tuned, because the battlefield's about to roar with an irony Putin never saw coming. And what if the next video captures not defeat, but a flicker of hope in the ash? Did Russia's grand claim of conquering Pokrovsk crumble under the truth? Imagining the shock as Ukrainian forces shattered Moscow's lies in a single bold act, hoisting their flag right in the city's heart. What hidden courage fueled this defiance amid relentless siege? 358 characters. Ukraine's defenders have defied Putin's narrative of victory in Pokrovsk. The Russian announcement on December 1 rang hollow as battles raged on. Over a week later, the city stood defiant. Ukraine held firm, turning the ground into a muddy quagmire of resistance. Dense fog muffled distant artillery booms. Damp air carried the acrid sting of burnt metal. Soldiers felt the chill seep through wet uniforms as they dug in. Who could believe Russia's boasts when the earth itself rejected their advance? This mechanized assault on December 10 exposed the facade. Russian armored columns charged from south to north. Mud splattered under heavy treads. Bones rattled in the rumor-filled air. Yet, Ukraine saw through the haze. The 7th Rapid Response Corps of Ukrainian Air Assault Forces readied for the storm. Their comrades waited in ruinous shelters. Heartbeats thrummed against cold dirt walls. Was this the rupture Putin promised, or his undoing? Building on Ukraine's unveiling of Russia's Pokrovsk lie through flag-raising defiance, the failed mechanized push begs deeper questions. Envision the 7th Corps' vigilance piercing low visibility. Armored beasts lumbered forward, engine roars echoing like beasts in fog. Mud clung to boots like an unrelenting vice. Poor weather shielded some from drone eyes. Yet, precision shattered illusions. The 68th Separate Jaeger Brigade, named after Alexa Dovbush, struck first. An FPV drone plunged through mist. The armored beast erupted in flames. Shrapnel hissed mid-air. Smoke-choked lungs and blurred visions. Advancing forces toppled next under combined arms. Artillery thunder rolled, shaking loose rubble. Personnel crumpled in the slop. What if this weathered gamble cost Russia more than terrain? Ukraine stymied Russia's mechanized gamble, turning expected advantage into catastrophe. Now, consider the broader grind in Pokrovsk's kill zones. Wave after wave of Russian assaults collapsed. Bodies piled in anti-tank ditches. Flesh tore on barbed wire. Putrid decay wafted from stagnant pools of blood-rusted earth. The stench of rotting uniforms mingled with cordite. Soldiers gasped for air thick with smoke. Command pushed thousands daily to stem advances. Ukrainians, outnumbered 8-1 in spots, tempted fate at Dobropilia circa north. Early November hopes for breakthrough faded. Trench battles dragged on. Boots squelched in viscous muck as metal clanged on metal. Wave after Russian corps now marked minor gains. Why cling to lines with such slaughter, when encirclement tactics crumble? Pokrovsk's relentless Russian meat grinder robs lives for feudal standoffs. This shifts to Ukraine's tactical triumphs, outsmarting brute force with crafted intelligence. Reports reveal Ukraine defending against 170,000 Russian troops, a hefty slice of 700,000 invaders. But manpower alone doesn't conquer, it fuels defeats. Drone footage from Volodymyrivka's ruins etches reality. Crumbled walls scraped skin raw in rubble-choked alleys. Dust swirled in fractured light. Russian infiltrators crept over debris. Heartbeats clamored as they stumbled. An ambush lurked. A paratrooper erupted from cover. Gunfire cracked sharply. Bodies slumped in jagged heaps. Small teams with drone eyes thwarted masses. Precision overruled savagery. How does this cycle of Russian disarray reshape the war's brutal nightmare? That question hangs as stalemate exacts tolls. Ukraine's swift drone-guided ambushes and ruins expose Russia's infiltration flaws, amplifying defensive prowess. This pattern of calculated strikes weakened Putin's Pokrovsk push further. Recently, assault troops from the Skalier Regiment reclaimed the city's core. They hoisted Ukraine's flag boldly, unseen by foes. Camera lights flickered in stark defiance. Wind snapped fabric aloft. The act erased Putin's credibility remnants. Vladimir Zelensky championed the stand. Violent clashes, 234 on December 10, saw 49 in Pokrovsk sector erupt. Explosions boomed like tempests. Shrapnel whizzed in chaotic whirlwinds. Ukrainian National Guard spokesperson Ruslan Muzychuk noted foggy deceptions foiled. Enemy advances met fiery destruction. Offensive ops surged in 15 nearby settlements. Earth heaved under relentless barrages. Smells of diesel and gunpowder choked the air. Grit ground into palms as weapons jolted. Russia's theory of fallen Pokrovsk imploded. How might this reclaimed ground shatter Moscow's siege dreams? Building on the flag-raising humiliation that dismantled Putin's false victory. Ukraine's offensive respites deliver fatal reverses to Russian edge. Prospects surge as Ukraine exploits thinning enemy ranks. Reclaimed zones grow vulnerable to countercharges. Kill zones promise attritional gains beyond city centers. Russia's plan devolves to desperate manpower floods. Putin halts lowered horizons. Corpses mount in death pits. Stale blood seeped into soil, crusting boots. Artillery howls protracted the agony. Soldiers shivered in trench drafts. Ukrainian persistence erodes assault strength. Opportunities blossom for retakes. Will Ukraine's composed twists overwhelm Russia's furious storm? This unfolding saga teeters on brink.